Okay, real talk. Be honest with me for a second. You got your salary this month. Maybe it's 40,000 rupees, maybe it's 80,000 rupees, maybe you're doing really well and it's above a lakh. Doesn't matter. What happened to it? First, the rent went, then the EMIs, groceries, that one dinner out that somehow became four dinners out because, man, you only live once. Some Zomato orders at midnight that you don't want to think about, some random Amazon purchase, but it was on sale. And then maybe at the end of the month you thought, okay, let me save something. And you transferred 2000 rupees to your savings account and felt really proud of yourself. I've been that person. I know that person. You might be that person right now. And here's what nobody tells you. That feeling of at least I saved something is actually one of the most dangerous feelings in personal finance because it tricks your brain into thinking everything is fine when it might not be. My name is Rohan, and I spend way too much time thinking about the gap between what Indians think they are saving and what they're actually saving, and more importantly, what it means for their future. If you're someone who earns a decent income, feels like money is always just enough, can't quite figure out where it all goes, and secretly wonders whether everyone around you has figured something out that you haven't, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today, we are going to do something slightly uncomfortable. We are going to look at savings benchmarks by age specifically for Indians and figure out with actual numbers and actual data whether you are on track, behind, or honestly just nowhere near where you need to be. Let's get into it. Before I give you the benchmarks, before I tell you where you should be, I want to hit you with some numbers because I think most people have a very optimistic and frankly incorrect view of how well Indians save. India, as a culture, likes to think of itself as a nation of savers. You've heard it. We Indians save so much, right? We don't waste money like Americans, right? Here's the thing. That used to be true. In 2008, India's gross domestic savings rate was 38% of GDP. 38%. That's genuinely impressive. We were beating most European economies. We were right up there with the best in the world. Fast forward to today, according to the World Bank's latest data for 2024, India's gross domestic savings rate has fallen to roughly 30% of GDP. And when you specifically look at household financial savings, the money families are putting into bank deposits, mutual funds, insurance, PF, the RBI's own data shows that in 2022 to 2023, it fell to just 5.1% of gross national disposable income. That is a multi-year low. Now wait, I can hear you. Rohan, 28% still sounds pretty good though, right? Yes and no. See, here's the problem. When economists say household savings, they're including your house, your parents' house, your uncle's plot in some village. Physical assets, real estate and gold account for the largest chunk of what Indians save. The RBI's Handbook of Statistics 2025 reported that in 2023 to 2024, Indian households saved 54.6 lakh crore rupees in total, but 38.4 lakh crore rupees of that, about 70%, was physical assets like real estate and gold. The remaining 16.2 lakh crore rupees was in gross financial savings, bank deposits, mutual funds, insurance, PF. Sounds okay? Here's where it gets ugly. Once you subtract all the loans and EMIs and credit card debt that households owe, all those financial liabilities, the actual net financial savings, the money families are genuinely building up in real terms, collapses to just 3.4 lakh crore rupees. Borrowing is eating up almost 80% of what we save in financial assets. Your house is not your savings account. I'm going to repeat that. Your house is not your savings account. It doesn't generate monthly returns you can use. You can't sell one bathroom when you need money. Real estate in India is illiquid, it has high transaction costs, and it doesn't help you retire. And yet, this is what most Indian families consider their nest egg. But here's what really scared me when I was researching this video. A CRISIL analysis found that between FY21 and FY23, while Indian household gross financial savings grew at 10.3% annually, household financial liabilities, loans, EMIs, credit card revolving debt surged at 30.1% annually. Let that sink in. We are borrowing 3 times faster than we are saving. 3 times. Home loans, auto loans, personal loans, buy now, pay later apps, credit card revolving debt, all of it. And it's not just rich people borrowing for big assets. The average Indian household is increasingly using debt to fund regular lifestyle expenses. This is a structural shift, not a blip. So, the cultural story that Indians are great savers, it's becoming, unfortunately, a myth we are telling ourselves. Okay, so now you're either nodding along or you're slightly panicking. Either is fine. Let's talk about what the actual numbers should look like by age. Now, I want to be upfront. There's no single official savings by age benchmark published by SEBI or RBI specifically for Indian individuals. What I've done is taken global personal finance frameworks, adjusted them for Indian income reality and Indian lifestyle costs, and stress tested them against what the data actually tells us. These are targets, not guarantees, not judgments, targets. Let me first set the income baseline because this matters a lot. The median salary in India as of 2025 per PLFS data is likely to be in the 18,000 to 20,000 rupees per month range for regular salaried workers. The average, pulled up by high earners in IT, finance and management, sits closer to 21,000 rupees a month per PLFS 2024 to 2025. But here's the reality. Only about 22% of Indian workers are in regular salaried employment at all, and within that group, the income spread is massive. For this exercise, let's use a tiered approach because your life stage determines your income far more than most people realize. Age 22 to 25, the first job years. Income range we are working with 25,000 to 45,000 rupees per month, fresher to 2 to 3 years experience, private sector. The benchmark. At 25, you should have saved roughly 3 times to 6 times your monthly in-hand salary. That means somewhere between 75,000 rupees and 2,50,000 rupees in actual savings and investments, not including your phone, not including your bike. I know, I know that sounds like a lot. You're thinking, Rohan, I'm just starting out. And I get it. But here's why this matters. The money you save at 22 is genuinely worth double the money you save at 32. I'm not being dramatic, that's just compound interest. At a 12% annual return, which is historically what Indian equity mutual funds have delivered over 15 plus year periods, 1,000 rupees saved at 22 becomes 9,646 rupees by age 42. The same 1,000 rupees saved at 32 becomes only 3,106 rupees. Same amount, same return, 20-year difference in outcome. What should you be doing? Minimum 20% of in-hand salary goes straight to savings before you pay for anything else. Not whatever is left at the end of the month. The beginning of the month. Auto-debit it. Make it boring. If you earn 30,000 rupees, 6,000 rupees is gone before you even see it. Now you might be thinking, but I have rent, I have to send money home, I have student loans. Okay, fair. Scale it down to 10% if you genuinely cannot do 20%. But something gets automated. Something moves before you can spend it. Age 26 to 30, the earning momentum years. Income range 40,000 to 1,20,000 rupees per month depending on sector and experience. The benchmark, by 30, you should have saved and invested roughly 3 times your annual in-hand income. Let me do the math for you with a concrete example. If you earn 60,000 rupees a month in hand, that's 7,20,000 rupees a year. By the time you're 30, you should have approximately 21 lakh rupees sitting in investments, provident fund, mutual funds and liquid savings combined. Now I'm going to pause here because I know what just happened in your head. You're either relieved because you're close or your stomach just dropped because you're nowhere near that. If your stomach dropped, stay with me. We're going to fix this. The reason this benchmark matters so much is that your 30s are when life attacks you financially. Wedding costs, housing down payment, maybe kids, car, parents' health. The 30s are expensive. If you walk into them with no financial cushion, every single one of these events will require you to go into debt. And debt at this stage, especially personal loans at 12 to 18% interest, is like financial quicksand. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink. Age 31 to 40, the real world decade. Income range 80,000 to 2,50,000 rupees plus per month for mid-career professionals. The benchmark, by 35, you should have 5 times your annual in-hand income saved and invested. By 40, you're looking at 7 times to 8 times. This is where it gets really interesting. And by interesting, I mean slightly alarming. Take someone earning 1,20,000 rupees a month in hand, that's 14,40,000 rupees a year, a legitimately good above median income. By 40, this person should have somewhere around 1 crore to 1.15 crore rupees saved and invested. Not in their flat, not in gold jewelry their mother is wearing, in liquid investable assets. Now, most middle class Indians who earn this amount at 40 have maybe 20 to 30 lakh rupees saved, sometimes less, because the 80 lakh rupees difference went into an expensive wedding, a car upgrade every 5 years, international holidays on credit cards that got paid but slowly, rent in a premium locality because image matters, lifestyle inflation that grew exactly as fast as the salary did. This is the decade where the gap between I feel successful and I am financially secure becomes visible, and most people don't look. Age 41 to 50, the wake up or double down decade. The benchmark is by 50, you should be targeting 12 to 15 times your annual expenses saved. Not income, expenses, because expenses are what retirement is actually built around. Let's say your current lifestyle costs 80,000 rupees a month, 9,60,000 rupees a year. By 50, you should be looking at a corpus of approximately 1.15 crore to 1.44 crore rupees minimum, and that's just the foundation. Real retirement planning in India with a 30-year horizon, you retiring at 55 to 60, living to 85, requires a lot more, especially with healthcare costs. Okay, so now you have the numbers. Here's what most people don't realize though. Knowing the target is only about 20% of the problem. The other 80% is psychology. And Indian financial psychology specifically has some very unique patterns that are worth understanding. Pattern 1. The I'll save when I earn more trap. This is the single biggest lie Indians tell themselves. When my salary hits 1 lakh rupees, then I'll start saving seriously. Look, I have seen people who earn 30,000 rupees a month save 8,000 rupees, and I have seen people who earn 3 lakh rupees a month save 5,000 rupees. Lifestyle inflation is the real enemy, not low income. Your expenses will always rise to meet your income unless you draw a deliberate line. There is actually a term for this in behavioral economics. It's called hedonic adaptation. Your brain gets used to every new level of comfort almost immediately and redefines it as the baseline. The 800 rupee dinner that felt like a treat at 24 becomes completely ordinary at 30 and actually slightly embarrassing by 35. And your savings rate can stay flat or even fall the entire time. Pattern 2. The EMI illusion. Here's something that genuinely upsets me. India's credit culture has sold us the idea that if the EMI is manageable, the purchase is affordable. It is not. A 4 lakh rupees two-wheeler loan at 14% interest over 4 years comes with an EMI of roughly 10,930 rupees per month. And by the time you've made your last payment, you've paid approximately 5,25,000 rupees in total for a vehicle that was worth maybe 2,50,000 rupees the moment you rode it out of the showroom. You paid 31% more than the sticker price, and the asset lost value the entire time. The EMI felt affordable. The financial decision was terrible. Multiply this thinking across a car, a phone upgrade on a no-cost EMI, which is never really no-cost by the way, a sofa, a washing machine, and you have what CRISIL found: Indian household liabilities growing at 30% a year. Pattern 3. The family will manage assumption. In India, there is an implicit belief that somehow the family structure acts as a financial safety net. Your parents will have something, your siblings will help, property will be sold, somehow it will work out. Um, it doesn't always work out that way, and increasingly with nuclear families, rising healthcare costs, and parents themselves having inadequate retirement savings, the assumption that family manages is causing multiple generations to underprepare simultaneously. You planning for yourself is an act of love for your family. It means your parents don't have to worry about you, your children don't have to rescue you. You become the one who helps, not the one who needs help. That's a powerful reframe. All right, let's talk solutions, because I didn't bring you this far just to make you feel bad about yourself. If you're behind the benchmarks, and statistically, looking at the RBI data, a lot of you are. Here's what I'd actually do. Step 1. Calculate your real savings rate right now. Take everything you saved and invested last month, SIP, PF contribution, RD, everything. Divide it by your in-hand salary, multiply by 100. If the number is below 20%, you have work to do. If it's below 10%, treat this as a financial emergency. even if nothing in your life feels like an emergency right now. Step 2. The 24-hour delay rule. Any non-essential purchase above 2000 rupees, wait 24 hours before you buy it. I promise you, 60 to 70% of those purchases will not happen. Not because you can't afford them, but because half of what we buy is impulsive, not intentional. Step 3. Automate before you rationalize. Set up an SIP, a systematic investment plan on the first or second of the month, the day your salary hits. Even if it's 2000 rupees or 5000 rupees, start there. Increase it by 500 rupees every quarter. This is not complicated. Do not wait to learn more about investing before you start. The cost of waiting is massive. A 5000 rupees monthly SIP started at 25 in a simple Nifty 50 index fund at an assumed 12% annual return becomes approximately 1.79 crore rupees by age 55. The same SIP started at 35 becomes roughly 50 lakh rupees. Same monthly amount, same return assumption, different start date. That's a difference of nearly 1.29 crore rupees just from starting 10 years earlier. Step 4. Build the emergency fund first. Before you invest aggressively, make sure you have 3 to 6 months of expenses in a liquid source, a high-interest savings account, or a liquid mutual fund. This is not optional, this is the foundation. Without it, any financial emergency forces you to break your investments at the worst time. Step 5. Stop outsourcing your financial education. Nobody cares about your money more than you. Not your bank relationship manager whose job it is to sell you their bank's overpriced insurance policy. Not your CA uncle who gives free advice at family dinners and means well but isn't up to date. Not the random WhatsApp groups sharing hot stock tips. You need to spend at least 2 to 3 hours a month, just 2 to 3 hours, reading, watching and learning about personal finance. You're already doing it right now. That's the start. Here's what I really want you to take away from this video. The savings benchmarks I gave you today are not designed to shame you. They're designed to give you a mirror. Because in personal finance, the uncomfortable truth is that most of us are operating on vibes. We feel like we're doing okay, we feel like we're being responsible. But feeling fine and actually being on track are completely different things. India is in a very interesting economic moment in 2026. We're the fastest growing major economy in the world. The RBI's latest projections put GDP growth at 7.4% for FY 2026. Genuinely impressive on a global scale. Inflation has actually fallen well below the 4% target and sits at around 2.75% as of early 2026. Which means your purchasing power is being eroded more slowly than it has been in years. Interest rates have been cut, the equity markets over the long term continue to reward patient investors. The opportunity to build real, lasting wealth is genuinely there for you, but it requires you to make conscious choices every single month. The average Indian who retires today has almost no financial savings to speak of. They are dependent on their children or on whatever land or gold their family accumulated. That story does not have to be yours. You can be the generation that actually breaks that cycle. The generation that doesn't just earn more than their parents, but also saves smarter, invests earlier, and retires with dignity and independence. But it starts with an honest answer to an honest question. When you look at the benchmarks I gave you today, where do you actually stand? Not where you plan to be next year, not where you were before that bad month, right now, today. Be honest, then decide what you're going to do about it. If this video made you think differently about your savings, even slightly, I'd love to know in the comments. Tell me which age group you're in and whether the benchmark surprised you. I read a lot more of those than you'd think. If you want me to make a follow-up video on exactly how to invest by age in India, where to put your money, which accounts to use, what instruments actually make sense for the Indian tax system, drop a comment and let me know. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, a friend who keeps saying I'll start saving next year, a sibling who thinks their flat is their retirement plan, anyone, share this with them. Because sometimes all it takes is one video to completely change how someone sees money. Hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. I'll see you in the next video.